The Nigeria Union of Journalists have condemned the intimidation and harassment of reporters covering the country-wide demonstrations with the hashtag End Bad Governance in Nigeria. Now, the union stated that these acts were carried out by both state and non-state actors. In a statement by Achike Chude, made available on Sunday, August 4th, 2024, by the NUJ's National Secretary Achike Chude, now, the statement assured that despite these condemnable acts, journalists will neither be cowed nor deterred from carrying out their responsibilities of engaging with society to inform, enlighten, and educate citizens to promote the public good. Joining us on the news is Funke Adeoye, founder, Hope Behind Bars Africa. Hello, Funke. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you very much for having me. Good evening.
All right. Now, can you tell us the number of protesters that have reported harassment and what is to be done in such a case?
Thank you very much once again. It is almost impossible right now to determine the number of protesters that have been arrested because we've had lots of arrests across the country. We have been working predominantly in FCT and a couple of states in northern Nigeria, and we keep getting calls from family members of protesters and also people who are generally at the protests. And one of the things that we've noticed is that when lawyers are deployed to the various police stations, what we get back is that the protesters cannot be released on higher orders. And so, I mean, we've also recorded in places like Lagos situations whereby lawyers have to go and try to get these protesters out, and they have to spend hours upon hours. So I do not think it's possible right now. Today is day 4 of the protest, and for every day of the protest, beginning from day 1, we've had series and series of calls or series and series of notice about the arresting of protesters. We've also had an increase in the number of journalists that have been harassed and also even arrested. On the first day of the protest, one Jide Oyeniro, the NUJ chairman of FCT chapter, was actually arrested. And it's really, really unbecoming of a society that wants to continue democracy, because when a situation whereby journalists and people who are peaceful are protesting and they are being arrested or without any reason whatsoever, then it means that the government is trying to just continue to push back on citizens' voices. And in terms of what can be done about this, I mean, a lot of efforts are currently being done by different civil society organizations, lawyers across Nigeria, different Nigerians who are providing as much support as possible to ensure that these protesters are released. But more importantly, we need to get a definitive stance from the government, which is one of the things that we failed to get from the president's address this morning. And that definitive stance is that there is no reason whatsoever why protesters should be arrested, especially when there is no semblance of them perpetrating crime or being violent in any way. So it's important that it's important that the government takes a stand that every protester that has been arrested with unduly or without any due cause is released as at today. That's the first point of call.
All right, Funke. Now, you did say that, CSOs and other Nigerians are doing a lot about, the arrests and also the harassment, that happened or occurred during the protest. But is there any way that the legal system can address the and potentially rectify any instances or even excessive force or violations of rights by security forces during the protest? Is there any way for them to be, proactive?
Well, in terms of being proactive, right now, the only way to be proactive is for us to continue to stand on our stance that the law is very clear with respect to freedom of peaceful assembly. Our laws are very clear. The 1999 Constitution, Section 39 and Section 40 actually says that everyone has a right to peaceful assembly. So the law is very clear on that. That has also been provided for in the UDHR, the other international instruments that Nigeria is a treaty to. So the law is very clear on that. Now, the only thing we can really do is to continue to speak and to say that the government respects people's rights to freedom of assembly. In addition to that, like I said earlier, it's important that the government, and again, that's something we failed to hear with the president's address this morning. there is no reason whatsoever, because in addition to the arrest, we've also had excessive use of force from the side of the police. As at 2nd of August, the second day of the protest, we had already recorded about 13 deaths. Today is the 4th of August, and I think the death toll has increased. Even the president made reference to it in his speech this morning. But the law is also clear on that police use of force should be proportionate. It should be only proportional, necessary, and only in a situation whereby they're about to protect people from harm, from grievous harm, or as a form of self-defense. But what we found is a lot of arrests. What we found is situations whereby the police is using live ammunition on people who are very, very powerless. Basically, the only voice the people have is their mouth.
Funke, what are the legal implications, of the president's acknowledgement of these loss of lives and also damage during the protests? Are there any grounds for legal action related to these incidents, especially, by the police?
Absolutely. I mean, what we've just seen is a whole round of human rights violations. The president has acknowledged that indeed we've had human rights violations by virtue of the police use of force on citizens who had no form of who had no reason whatsoever to be harmed. Use of live ammunition. There is the use of live ammunition on citizens who were not perpetrating any form of grievous bodily harm. So absolutely, we have legal actions that can be taken. Even the family of the deceased who were a part of the protest and have been killed can also take legal action against the government. Now the question is, would they be willing to? Because if we take our mind back to previous protests that has happened in the past, even when the government took some extra steps to set up judicial panels, till date we are still asking for the follow-up from the judicial panels that were set up after 2020. So yes, there are legal actions. There are course of action in terms of human rights violations that has been committed, in terms of legal actions, even against the policemen who perpetrated this harm. But the question is the government willing at this point in time to hold themselves accountable, to hold the policemen who have inflicted grievous bodily harm and killed people without any reason whatsoever? Is the government willing to take action? This is what we want to see. I think basically this is what we also wanted to hear from the president, to say that these things has happened, but it shouldn't have happened. And this is what we're going to do to ensure that if people decide to want to continue to speak up on the issue of bad governance, they will be protected. And finally, that it's important to separate the people who are perpetrating harm, which are the rioters and the looters, from the protesters. From the videos you've seen in the past couple of days, you find that the protesters are where they are without any reason whatsoever, showing that they are trying to be violent, and we find policemen with them, around them, holding live ammunition, trying to intimidate and to create a form of apprehension. On the other hand, we see videos of people looting, and there is no form of security around them, forgetting that the Constitution is very clear that the security and welfare of the people will be the sole and the primary responsibility of the government by virtue of Section 14(2) of the 1999 Constitution.
Absolutely, Funke. Thank you so much for speaking to us and taking time out to speak to us on this. Thank you.
Thank you.